I thank you for allowing me to present Assembly Bill 1608, which seeks to separate coroner's office from the sheriff's department in counties across the state of California. Before I begin, I want to respectfully accept the amendment that the committee proposed, which would remove line 25 on page 3 that reads tax collector, coroner. California is currently one of the 3 states that still allows counties to combine the office of the coroner's office with the sheriff's department. Members, we are late at the party. We're late to the party. Why is that? This is a question we should be asking. For years, we have witnessed far too many tragedies and patterns of inconsistencies between the sheriffs have been allowed to oversee causes of death rulings. This has resulted in biased medical investigation time and time again. Angelo Quinto, Oscar Grant, Miles Hall, David Silver, Christian Isinger, and the list goes on and on. These individuals have families that have been left without answers, with emptiness in their hearts. AB 1608 would put California in line with the rest of the states that have already advanced a similar piece of legislation like AB 1608. In California, 10 counties are already doing what AB 1608 seeks to accomplish here today. Counties that are currently separated, like Los Angeles, Inyo, Sacramento, San Diego, San Francisco, San Joaquin, San Mateo, Santa Clara, Ventura. I am proud to say that Los Angeles County and San Francisco County introduced a motion to support Assembly Bill 1608. Both of these counties have successfully independent functions. Members, current state law does not require a sheriff to have, watch this, any medical background or certification to assume the duties of a coroner's office. And I want to underscore that. As a result, it has caused many to question whether the medical diagnosis is valid when there is an officer-involved shooting or death that occurs. Assembly Bill 1608, from two bills, AB 1196 and AB 490, which I wrote, this governor, Gavin Newsom, signed both bills into law in light of the tragedy and the death and the murder of George Floyd and Angelo Quinto. In December of last year, Angelo Quinto, a United States Navy veteran from Northern California, was tragically killed by police. Angelo Quinto's case, 8 months after his death, the Contra Costa Coroner's Office issued a report before the autopsy and ruled the death as accidental and listed the cause of death, watch this, excited delirium. What does that mean? Excited delirium. I get excited all the time. But they concluded it was excited delirium. The term excited delirium is rejected by the American Medical Association, the World Health Organization, American Psychiatric Association. This term has been rejected by the medical community at large, yet it is still used by law enforcement to explain certain deaths occurring in police custody. In fact, earlier this year, the Physicians of Human Rights released a report debunking this term, and I provided copies for each of you to look at the research and why they concluded what they concluded thus far. In San Joaquin County, it wasn't until 2018 that the County Board of Supervisors separated the duties of the sheriff's and the coroner's office. It took a very public and embarrassing resignation from the chief medical examiners and another medical examiner on staff for the county to act. Over the 9-month period, the chief medical examiners documented countless examples of autopsies they performed. These documentations include instances when the sheriff changed their cause of death findings. According to the documentation, in some cases, they felt pressured by the sheriff to report something different. This is unacceptable. These are one of two stark examples that explains why we should not wait until a life is lost or until another situation happens like I just described. We can change this trajectory now. It is our responsibility to question what does not truly make sense. Members, joining me today to my left is Dr. Roger Mitchell, the Chief Medical Examiner Officer from Washington, D.C., who also conducted the 2018 audit of San Joaquin County. In addition, we will have joining me Sandra Quinto Collins, the mother of Angelo Quinto, Bella Quinto, and which is the sister of Angelo Quinto, and Robert Collins, the stepfather of Angelo Quinto, who will testify. Doctor?
Good morning, Chairperson and members of the Assembly Committee for Local Government. Thank you for Assembly Gibson for your invitation. It's my honor and privilege to appear before you here today. I'm Dr. Roger Mitchell, Jr. I'm a board-certified forensic pathologist and anatomic pathologist, and I'm here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 1608 that strives to definitively separate the office of the coroner and responsibilities of the sheriff. I'm a former FBI forensic scientist. I've been practicing forensic pathology since 2007. I was the chief medical examiner for Washington, D.C. from 2014 to 2021. I've performed nearly 2,000 autopsies in my career. The latest was just this past Saturday. And I have expertise that expands globally. Currently, I'm a tenured professor and chair of pathology at Howard University College of Medicine. I've spent much of my career describing death in custody as a public health issue. In 2017, I had the opportunity to lead a group of medical examiners on a position paper in death in custody. The paper outlines a series of guidelines for the proper investigation, examination, and reporting of these cases. Many of you may be aware of the transition of the San Joaquin County from a sheriff-coroner system to a medical examiner system. I was called in by that county to perform the audit that led to its separation. That audit is now public record. I come here to serve as a resource for you as you make this critical decision to separate the offices of the coroner from the sheriff in California. The bill will go a long way towards instilling public confidence in death investigation, particularly those deaths that occur in connection with the criminal legal system, either during arrest, transport, or while in jail. But not only that, with properly staffed and trained medical, legal, and death investigation system, Californians can rely on the reported data of all types of deaths, including sudden and unexpected natural deaths, deaths of moms who die while in labor, domestic violence, child abuse, deaths due to COVID, and even today, deaths due to mass fatality. In 2009, the National Academies of Science called for the strengthening of the medical legal death investigation system. Part of that report in 2009 called for the removal of the sheriff-coroner system. out of the lack of expertise. Let me be clear. We show support of our sheriffs and law enforcement by separating the coroner function. The coroner system in the United States was imported here with the original colonization. Attempts at improvement of the system has been occurring since its inception, but it is yet to be completely mature into the system it has the potential to be. AB 1608 is a small but necessary step towards ensuring the health, equity, and death that we all pursue in life. By providing reliable, reproducible, timely, and accurate death investigation, you are giving clarity and closure to thousands of families in their most devastating time of need. Your decision today will have greater positive impact than you could ever imagine. I'm truly proud of this auspicious body for your willingness to make this change. Separate the sheriff and the coroner system. Thank you again for this opportunity to testify here in front of you, and I'm available for any questions that you may have.
My name is Cassandra Quinto Collins. This is Bella, and this is Robert. We are the family of Angelo Quinto. My son Angelo was killed in December of 2020 by Antioch police officers in front of me on my bedroom floor. He was experiencing a mental health crisis that night, but he was not violent, did not have any weapons, and was not under the influence of any common drugs, substances of abuse. Despite the officers acknowledging all of this, they placed him on his stomach, on the ground, handcuffed him, pushed his crossed legs against his back, and kneeled on the back of his neck. During at least the 4.5 minutes of this restraint, he was completely unresponsive.
Yes, during at least the last 4.5 minutes of this restraint, he was completely unresponsive. Soon after he was killed, we experienced blatant deceit from law enforcement, and we were later told by our lawyers that this death would be blamed on excited delirium, which we know is widely medically denounced and statistically like 90% of the time used in cases of in-custody deaths. So we sought an independent pathologist to conduct an objective autopsy. At 8 months later, at what is called the coroner's inquest, the coroner, under the oversight of the sheriff, did in fact rule his death to be excited delirium. That day at the coroner's inquest was eye-opening. It was almost unbelievable. We were witness to a lot of bias. They, for example, did not name us as witnesses, even though my mother was in the room the entire time my brother was being killed, and I was in the hallway going back and forth. They contradicted public medical records. They had very little evidence for excited delirium if we're speaking about it as if it is legitimate, and the hearing officer very blatantly led the witnesses to say specific things, filled in when they were missing something. And I'll stop right there, that among other things.
Assembly members, thank you. I'm Robert Collins. There were 2 crimes committed that night on December 23rd, 2020. One was the excessive force that was used on Angelo, which was completely unnecessary. But the second crime was the crime of covering up, a cover-up that began immediately. The family heard the next, a few days later, contacting the attorney, that an independent pathologist was almost a necessity because we don't have trust in the system to be impartial. What we're asking for in AB 1608 is to change the roles so that the sheriff is not overseeing what should be a scientific and medical diagnosis. Because even if there's only a perception of bias, that is not something that government should have in its operations. We want the public to trust the systems of government, and it cannot be trusted when those inquiries are subject to the authority of a sheriff. It may have made sense 150 years ago. It just doesn't make sense today. So it's really a common sense reform, and it brings about accountability, transparency, and objectivity. And believe me, our family has definitely seen how this process was not objective, transparent, or unbiased. In our case, it was so clear. They contradicted hospital records. They contradicted everything. They ignored so much evidence. It's just so patently clear. So what we're asking for, I think, is a very common sense reform, and I think you're doing it for the people of California. We want to all be able to rely on the systems of government. So as I said, there were 2 crimes committed, but by passing this kind of legislation, you will make sure that families like ours can get closure and can move beyond the tragedy that's happened instead of living the nightmare of trying to combat and clarify what's wrong with government. So I thank you for your vote today. I think you're having a great impact on many lives that you don't even know, because not everyone can afford an independent pathologist. Not everyone can afford to raid their 401k to pay for these things. So thank you for your vote today. We appreciate it.
We thank you very much for your testimony.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Corey Salzillo on behalf of the California State Sheriff's Association, respectfully in opposition to the bill. I wanted to just talk a little bit about the current system, irrespective of whether or not the sheriff's office has been combined with the coroner's office, which remains a choice that the County Board of Supervisors makes pursuant to current statute. And 48 counties have made that choice over the years. So the vast majority of counties have chosen that model. 10 counties have decided they didn't want that model, or that they wanted to change from a sheriff-coroner model to a separate coroner or independent medical examiner. They have the right to do that, and they've done that. A coroner's expertise is investigation, and that's the role they play. The coroner does not determine the cause of death. The physician determines the manner of death. The cause of death. And that is the case in every death investigation where there is a coroner involved, irrespective of the model. If there's an elected coroner, a physician determines cause of death. If there's a sheriff coroner, the physician determines the cause of death. The coroner determines the manner of death. Natural, accidental, suicide, homicide, undetermined. That's the coroner's determination. The coroner's expertise is investigation. The coroner does not make a medical diagnosis. That's the job of the medical doctor in every death investigation that is overseen by a coroner in every county, irrespective of the governance model they choose. If they have an independent medical examiner, a medical doctor, usually a forensic pathologist with special training, does the forensic autopsy. That's always the case. A doctor always does the autopsy. So this notion that a sheriff doesn't have medical training is illusory, because the coroner is not required to provide medical functions. The coroner determines manner of death based on investigation of the facts surrounding the medical reasons for the person's death. That's an important distinction in this conversation, because there is not a question about should a person who is not trained in medicine be making medical decisions. That's not what's at issue here. The current sheriff-coroner approach, utilized by choice, enjoys the benefit of operational efficiencies. Sheriff's offices do investigations. That's what the coroner's role is. Again, the physician determines cause of death. In San Joaquin, the example bears out 2 things. One, that counties have the authority to make their decision on how they want to have their county offices organized and whether or not they want to combine the office of the sheriff-coroner. They had combined those offices. They decided in 2018 they no longer wish to have those offices combined. They were able to separate them at their choice. They made the decision based on all of the factors at bar and decided that it was worth it for their county to make that decision to have a separate coroner's office. San Joaquin also shows that this question of manner of death and cause of death, the manner is the coroner's purview, even if separated from the sheriff's office. So there are many models, an elected coroner, an appointed coroner, a medical examiner. The author pointed out that there are counties who utilize those options, and that's their choice. From a governance perspective, this bill is heavy-handed. It disregards local control. There's no money in this bill for counties to stand up separate sheriff-coroner offices, but it requires that it be done without regard to the massive cost this will create. There's a question in the analysis whether or not the bill intends to upend the current 48 counties who have elected to use the sheriff-coroner model. If it doesn't, then that's very helpful, but I believe that that's the intent of the author. I don't want to speak for the author, but that seems to be clear what's at issue here. Counties have adopted procedures to address perceived conflicts with how death investigations are undertaking, and this bill is not limited to deaths involving law enforcement. In order to address a perceived problem with a perceived conflict between a law enforcement agency investigating deaths involving law enforcement, this bill just says sheriffs cannot be involved in the death investigation process, irrespective of a county's wishes. So for these reasons, we're respectfully in opposition. Thank you.
Good morning, members. Usha Muchler on behalf of the California State Coroners Association, respectfully in opposition to AB 1608. I will align my comments with my colleague with the State Sheriff's Association, and I just want to repeat what articulately has been spoken by the author, that counties can already do this without a legislative mandate, and many have already have done so. So we feel that this bill is unnecessary, and for those reasons we oppose. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other witnesses that would like to speak in opposition?
Good morning. Julius McChristian, representing the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, in opposition. Thank you.
Sarah Duquette on behalf of the Rural County Representatives of California, respectfully oppose unless amended, and our proposed amendments have been submitted to the committee and the author. Thank you.
Okay, now we need to offer those who would like to express their support for this bill in the room.
Mr. Chair and members, Dennis Cuevas Romero with the California Medical Association, proud co-sponsor of the bill, and here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Morning, Chair and members. Christoph Mayer with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, in strong support of AB 1608. Thank you.
Thank you. AT&T operator, if we could have those who would like to express either their support or opposition on the phone, this is now their opportunity.
Thank you. If you have support or opposition, please press 1, then 0. Our first line open is line 30. Line number 30, your line is open.
Good morning, Vice Chair and members. Kaylin Dean, ACLU California Action, proud co-sponsor in support of AB 1608.
Next is line 33. Your line is open.
Good morning. My name is Beatrice X, also B. I'm calling on behalf of California Families United for Justice and Love Not Blood campaign. I express my support for AB 1608. Thank you.
Line number 14, your line is open.
Hello, my name is Mary Beth. I'm based in San Francisco, and I'm calling on behalf of the National Alliance for Filipino Concerns, which is a member organization of the Justice for Angelo Quinto, Justice for All Coalition. And I'm calling in to express my support for 1608. Thank you.
Line 24, your line is open. 24.
Good morning. My name is Abe Evans, legislative aide for Shimon Walton, president of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, and I'm calling in support today. Thank you.
Line number 44, your line is open. 44.
Brian Hofer on behalf of co-sponsors Secure Justice, here in support. Additional support from Indivisible Sacramento, California Coalition for Women Prisoners, California News Publishers Association, Conference of California Bar Associations, American Friends Service Committee, Legal Services for Prisoners with Children, All of Us or None, Initiate Justice, California Immigrant Policy Center, Faith in Action East Bay, Bend the Arc Bay Area, Human Impact Partners. Thank you.
Line number 42, your line is open. 42. Line number 42, your line is open. Moving on to line 51. Line 51, your line is open.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me? So my name is Zion Tadessa. I'm calling behalf of I Am SAC Foundation, and I'm calling behalf of California Family United for Justice. I'm expressing my support for AB 1608. So I'm expressing my support for it.
Line number 35, your line is open. 35.
Yes, good morning. Ryan Sherman with the Riverside Sheriff Association in strong opposition to 1608. Thank you.
Line 52, your line is open. Line 52.
Mr. Chair, members, Randy Perry with PORAC in opposition to the bill.
Line number 20, your line is open. Number 20.
Good morning. My name is Diana Collins Quinto. I'm one of Angelo Quinto's aunts, and I'm calling in strong support of AB 1608. Thank you.
Line number 43, your line is open. Line 43.
Chair and members, Alejandra Duran representing NextGen California in support.
Line number 32, your line is open. Number 32.
Hi, this is Terry Valen. I'm the director of the Filipino Community Center in the San Francisco Bay Area, part of the Justice for Angelo Quinto, Justice for All Coalition, and we're here in support of 1608. The family has been seeking justice and leading the fight for justice for Angelo Quinto since December 2020, and we're here to stay in strong support of them and this particular bill to separate the sheriff's office from the coroner's office. Thank you.
Line number 25, your line is open. 25.
Good morning. On behalf of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, my name is Dr. Jonathan Lucas. I'm the Chief Medical Examiner for Los Angeles County in support of AB 1608.
Line number 23, your line is open. 23.
This is George Osborne for the Union of American Physicians and Dentists in support of AB 1608, proud co-sponsor. Thank you.
Line number 22, your line is open. 22.
My name is Maria Reynolds, and I am in support of AB 1608. Thank you.
Line number 45, your line is open. 45.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Valadez, and I'm calling on behalf of my brother, Christopher Valadez, who was murdered by Rialto police. I'm calling in to support and get AB 1608 passed, as my family was an impacted family. Cases like this need to be investigated under a county, separate coroner, and medical examiner. Thank you.
Line number 56, your line is open. 56.
Hello, my name is Julie Waters, and I'm calling on behalf of Alameda County Democratic Central Committee, and I'd like to express my strong support.
Line number 57, your line is open. 57.
Hi, I'm Diana Alvarado. I'm calling on behalf of the City of Rialto, as well as my family and Christopher Valadez. I'm calling in to express my support for AB 1608. I'm an impacted family member, and we who have lost someone due to police brutality deserve fair investigations. So many families have been failed because of the way the system investigates cases within their own departments. Those lives lost deserve justice. Thank you.
And our last line to open is line number 12. Line 12, your line is open.
I'm Marletta DeBoone on behalf of the Rialto, my son Christopher Valadez, who was wrongfully murdered. I am calling to support and get AB 1608 passed. No mother should lose their son at such a young age due to police brutality. My family demands and deserves justice. We need ongoing cases to be investigated fairly and under different counties. Thank you.
We do have another few in queue. We have line number 17. Your line is open.
Yes, my name is Uncle Bobby. On behalf of California Families United for Justice, we strongly support AB 1608 and as proud co-sponsors to that bill.
And there's another person in queue. It'll be just one moment. Line number 62, your line is open. Line 62.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Your line is open. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
Okay. Hello, my name is Marie Kofinko, and I'm calling on behalf of California's United for Justice. I express my support for AB 1608. Thank you.
And line number 40, your line is open.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Taddeo. I'm a resident from Danville in Contra Costa County. I'm calling to express support for AB 1608. Separate the duties of the sheriff and coroner. No one office or individual should have such a concentration of power. It erodes public confidence and trust. Thank you.
And at this time, there are no other lines in queue on the phone.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now have questions from the committee. No comments or questions from the committee. We'll give you a chance to close.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members. Let me just simply say we cannot wait until something happens to speak. We're speaking loud and clear. I want to thank those who've called in, those who sponsor this bill, co-sponsor this bill, those who gave up their time to provide their support in supporting 1608. It really means a great deal. To the Angelo Collins family, thank you very much for your testimony. Realizing that it's tough as a family who's been impacted due to a loss of a loved one with questionable determinations whether or not how the individual passed moving forward. Thank you very much for standing. Dr. Mitchell and also Mr. Romero, thank you very much. Let me just simply say this, that the 1608 builds upon the work that I've done around AB 490 dealing with positional asphyxia. I have concluded and will name this bill after the Angelo Quinto Act of 2022 to say his name and to make sure that he is not forgotten. And we do this work because we believe that that the Sheriff's Department and the Coroner's Office should be separated. And we do this and we speak this way to provide clarity, not only of heart and thought and mind, to simply say that we want to remove any kind of appearance of impropriety. We want to remove any kind of appearance of biasness. We believe when a doctor who's performing autopsy and he affix or she affix her name on the death certificate, it's because of the science, it's because of what they concluded as the medical examiner in terms of a cause of death. I have already indicated and articulated that a sheriff overseeing such a department doesn't have the skill, the certification, or the medical expertise to oversee such a department. It's almost like you placing me over a cardiologist's department. I have no expertise, no experience, no education to even conclude or to even add an opinion on something that I'm not even skillful in. And that's what we have. That's what we're talking about right now. Bifurcating the Sheriff's Department and the Coroner's Office, have the coroner stands alone. When the Coroner's Office stands alone, they're not receiving the pressure. I indicated about what transpired in San Joaquin County during the audit. We have the individual here today who testified, Dr. Mitchell, about his audit and his conclusion. And as a result, the County Board of Supervisors themselves bifurcated and separated the department because of what transpired, because of what was investigated, because of what was concluded during that long investigation, that people resigned and resigned their position and they could no longer move forward. And so we're simply saying in Assembly Bill 1608 will provide families with a peace of mind, underscore peace of mind, when it comes down to the cause of death, investigation, and the process have been done by a medical examiner's office that they can stand by without any kind of influence. Members, I respectfully ask for your aye vote. Let California join the other states who have already separated the coroner's office from the sheriff department. Again, I respectfully ask for an aye vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. First of all, we need a motion and a second because of...
Thank you.
Okay, we have both of...
Aguilar Curry.
Wait just a moment. Wait just a moment. I'm not done yet. I'd like to make some remarks real quickly. I feel like I have a sense of duty since I'm the only one in this committee that's actually dealt with coroners and cause of death and autopsies. I've been present when these take place. I don't think there's anything in my life experience that's more delicate than when somebody loses their life no matter what. And what you have is high emotion, and that should be understood. Talk about bifurcating. The bifurcation that's really important to be understood is the role of the coroner versus a medical doctor. There's a very distinct difference. One announces manner of death. The medical doctor, not the coroner, the medical doctor is the one who issues the ruling on cause of death. That is an important distinction, everyone. The second thing I would remind you, this is the local government committee. Local governments can make this call. 48 counties have made the decision that they want to merge the cooperation between these two entities. I don't believe that it's in our best judgment to big brother those who have been elected by their local people to make this decision. So I will unfortunately not be able to support this bill. In contrast, our chair is not here, but I am going to read to you what she would like to say. And these are her remarks. Assemblymember Gibson, thank you for your work on this bill. While I'm sympathetic to concerns raised by opponents, especially concerns related to the cost impacts on smaller jurisdictions, I recognize the need for district separation of duties between the sheriff and coroner, particularly when a death occurs that involves law enforcement. She will be supporting your bill today and encourage you to continue working with opponents to address, the issues they have raised. The motion is to do pass as amended to Public Safety Committee. Secretary, please call the roll.
Aguilar Curry. Lackey.
No.
Lackey, no. Bloom. Aye. Bloom, aye. Berner Harvat. Aye. Berner Harvat, aye. Ramos. Ramos not voting. Luz Rivas. Aye. Luz Rivas, aye. Robert Rivas. Vopel. No. Vopel, no. Your vote is currently 3-2.
Okay, we'll keep the roll open also, and we'll let you know.
Thank you very much. Thank you, committee.